Hello everybody and welcome back to the Thrustmaster Virtual GP 2017 Championship. We are here in Montreal, Canada for round number 5. We've had 4 already. We've had Imola, Nürburgring, Spa and the Paul Ricard circuit. And now we come to Canada for round 5. Šmídl is running away a little bit in this championship, so that should be interesting to see how they fare for this 5th round of the championship. I'm Matthew Gallagher, and joining me in the commentary box once again is Justin Sutton.
Thanks again, Matt. Always a pleasure to be here. Really looking forward to this one. The Circuit Gilles Villeneuve always throws up good races, and I'm sure this will be no exception.
Last year, Canada was a dominant victory for Michael Šmídl, and he leads the championship going into round number 5, 21 points ahead of Štefanko and Honzík in 3rd position. Can anyone do anything about Šmídl? We'll have to find out very soon.
So we're going to take a little look here at the driver Martin Štefanko, who is actually somebody that I've met in previous online experiences and stuff. Here he is talking, of course, in his native tongue, but he's only 18 years old, which is incredible. I never knew that. He seems very mature for his age, undoubtedly, but Martin has been driving not just in Virtual GP, but also in Formula Sim Racing, which was a league that I did commentary for as well in the past. I did that last year. I haven't been doing it this year, but Martin is an incredibly talented driver. He caught a lot of eyes in Formula Sim Racing, and clearly he's caught a lot of eyes here in Virtual GP because really he is the only man that has been putting up any sort of fight up against Michael Šmídl, and he's been putting in some fantastic races. He's been a little bit off the pace at certain races. I'm sure he would have liked to have been pressuring Šmídl a little bit more, unquestionably, but this is a man that is very quick, very mature, very respectful driver as well. And he's been getting some fantastic results in not just Virtual GP, but also in Formula Sim Racing as well. He does say that he likes the V8 engines better in the Virtual GP, because it just seems to suit his driving style a little bit better. He's not really a fan of the hybrid style of engine, so it would seem that the slightly older type of V8 engine F1 cars that we drive here in Virtual GP are a little bit more suited to him, and that's what's allowed him to get up on the pace of Michael Šmídl despite having not all that much practice. Of course, things are a little bit different in this league with everybody having to go into the same place to practice and everything, so that kind of limits the time, much like real F1, but Martin Štefanko, I mean, he's not even just a good racer. I've even done commentary with this guy in English, you know, English not his native language, and he's a fantastic commentator as well. And you know, I've got high standards being alongside people like you, Matt.
So that was a lovely little rundown of Štefanko and his background. Now we're aboard with Jaroslav Honzík for a flying lap around this Montreal, Canada circuit through turn 1 and then a kind of never-ending turn 2 up the hill now all the way through the gears, and then you have a right-left chicane where it's quite easy to turn in a little bit too early and maybe clip the wall, or even clip the wall on the exit there as well. Coming through now this little right-hander, braking hard for this 90-degree left. This is into sector 2 now. I mean, Montreal's probably not one of the most difficult tracks on the calendar. I think we'll probably see a lot of the drivers quite close in qualifying and in the race as well. There's opportunities for slipstream, especially down the back straight, as Honzík goes through another of the chicanes. Now bearing his thoughts towards the hairpin, which is a very hard braking zone into the very long back straight. It's very difficult to get this one right as he kind of understeers a little bit. I'm not sure if that's the way the drivers are going to be taking it this weekend as we now go down this straight. It's very key to get a good exit, as if you get a bad one, you're going to be suffering down this entire straight and focusing towards the bus stop chicane. The bus stop chicane, that's Spa. What am I talking about? It's Wall of Champions. I don't know why I call it the bus stop chicane. Still have my Spa thoughts with me from round 3, but there you go, through the chicane, avoiding the Wall of Champions and over the line for a flying lap round Canada. Very quick.
So the starting grid is going to be Štefanko, actually, on pole position. We did a little driver profile for him. Honzík alongside him, though. Interesting. Michael Šmídl down in 3rd position. Definitely out of position from what we're used to seeing anyway. Polesny will line up alongside him on that 2nd row of the grid in 4th position. And then we've got Šlebek in the TP Link car lining up 5th ahead of Zubek, Not a great qualifying for Zubek. That's further down than we're used to seeing him in 6th position. Jan Sikora down in 7th position in the T-Mobile car. Does get the better of Jan Frabish in the Lynx car, though. And then bringing up the rear, we've got Thomas Dillezel for DX Racer, and Blazek makes a return for the BenQ team.
And we're on the grid. There's only 10 drivers this time out, and Schlebeck returns once again for the TP-Link team. Blazek is back in his BenQ car after missing 2 races, and we're ready for this round number 5, and it's lights out and away we go. Štefanko on pole position will want to keep first place going into turn 1. It's not a very long run into this left-hander, and he maintains the lead. Šmídl having a look up the inside, but Honzík will have the inside line for turn 2. Who will get the better exit coming out of turn 2? It looks like Honzík just about, although Šmídl actually much better on the acceleration up into P2, showing exactly the kind of attributes we've seen over the last 4 races. But Šmídl, not particularly great qualifying, put him down in 3rd, but he's now into 2nd, and now putting pressure on Martin Štefanko in the lead of this race. Well, I was about to say no contact, and that's the BenQ car going around of, that's Blazek. So he's now down to 10th place, despite being back after 2 races. Not a particularly good start for him for this Canadian GP, and Šmídl all over the back of Štefanko going towards this hairpin. Not close enough for an overtaking opportunity just yet, but Štefanko running a little bit wide through the hairpin. But fortunately, apart from Blazek's little mistake, Justin, we've got away pretty cleanly.
Yeah, great start, as you mentioned, particularly for Šmídl. I think that was some clever use of the curves in between turns 4 and 5, I believe it was, or 2 and 3, yeah, that he made the dive. So yeah, I think that may have just been clever use of curves there, potentially, just catching Honzík napping, as it were, grabbing that 2nd place position early on and holding on to it so far as we start the 2nd lap of this race. But yeah, just that one issue involving Blazek. I missed who it was that he made contact with, but it did put him around. I don't think he's got any sort of significant damage, although Schlebeck now coming under attack from Frabish, but it doesn't look like, yeah, it's not going to be a long enough run down towards turn number 3, so he's going to hold on to that 7th place position. But yeah, unfortunate for Blazek in his first race back after missing the past couple ones, so he hasn't raced since round 2, actually. So it's been a while for Blazek. On board now with Zubek, who is in 5th position now, running all over the back of Polesny, and trying to see what he could do. And here we go, Michael Šmídl versus Martin Štefanko. This is the battle that we've been seeing all season long, and it looks like Stefanko's got the measure of him. He covered off that inside line into the hairpin, but this is a very long straight here, Matt.
Well, you say that we've had this battle. We've never actually really had wheel-to-wheel between Šmídl and Štefanko. This is the first time I think we've seen it into round 5, and I think Šmídl will have a very good opportunity into this last chicane. He goes defensive to Štefanko, and please do not make contact, lads. Oh, and Štefanko carries on, and that will give Šmídl the lead possibly, as they're going to be side by side going down the straight, and that's Honzík getting involved as well. It's almost 3 wide going into turn 1. Šmídl trying to take the lead. Štefanko knows how important it is to try and keep that lead away from Šmídl, and unfortunately for him, Michael Šmídl takes the lead of this race despite a poor qualifying. Honzík wanting to get involved in this fight as well, and it's nice to see a 3-way battle for the lead at the moment. Will it stay this way? I'm not so sure. It seems Šmídl has the better pace despite not being able to put it together over 1 lap. And Štefanko, I'm not sure if it was him struggling to get used to the heavy fuel loads, or if it's the fact that the slipstream is so powerful round here. But we have a replay going into this last chicane, and yes, Štefanko, I think a slight lock up there, not being able to slow the car down into that last chicane. Šmídl, you can see, just brakes that a little bit earlier, gets the good exit through that last chicane, and takes the lead in the subsequent first corner of lap 2. And this is Honzík seeing this unfold, probably hoping that there's some sort of collision, not in an unsportsmanlike way, but just to give him some kind of opportunity. And he really didn't have anywhere to go or take any sort of advantage, and Šmídl round the outside into the lead of this race. Now Honzík over the back behind Štefanko. Štefanko really struggling at the start of this race, and Jaroslav Honzík fighting for 2nd place for the first time this season. And, well, what is happening to Štefanko? Already a 2.5 seconds down, Justin.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't know if he's flat-spotted a tire or something along those lines, but yeah, he has already lost out big time to Michael Šmídl. Was kind of hoping that we would see a bit more battling, but no, yeah, already here on lap number 4, as you mentioned, over a 1-second gap between Šmídl and Štefanko, but a little bit further back, Frabish still trying to find a way around Schlebeck. Nothing going there at the moment, but yeah, it is good to see Honzík getting involved in the battle for second position. Pretty much we've seen lots of battles for third position and further down on the field. But yeah, first and second often pretty more or less wrapped up, as it were. We do have just a reminder of the new tire rules. No medium compound tires for this race, and again, the visual indicator of the tire compounds on the cars is not the same. It doesn't really work. You really need to keep an eye on the timing board on the left-hand side to see what compound everybody is on. So everybody on the softs for the start of this race, and then they have the option also of going onto the super softs, but no medium tires, which should certainly reduce the amount of one-stops, if not eliminate one stop as a possible strategy. But here we go with Michael Blazek, the man that is back for the first time after missing a couple of races, and in that lovely purple BenQ car, and he's climbing all over the back of Thomas Dolezal, and I imagine is going to be looking to try and take that position as soon as possible. Not the easiest of circuits to overtake at, but certainly not the hardest of circuits either. And I don't believe he has any sort of damage, as he is, again, as I mentioned, all over the back of Frabish. Oh, in fact, Blazek, I believe, has done it. Moved himself up into P9. Meanwhile, our championship leader and race leader in the big shot car, Michael Šmídl, extending that gap seemingly as Frabish now into the pits for a very early stop. Or certainly that seems early to me. Now, I know the super softs can only last about 5 to 7 laps or so, but again, he's on the softs just like everybody else out there, and the softs should certainly be able to do more than that. So Frabish potentially with some sort of damage, just not happy with the car, not entirely sure of the full situation. But not only has Šmídl begun to break away from Štefanko here, but also Honzík starting to drop back from Štefanko. So these top three really starting to space out here, Matt.
I think it's quite key to point out that Štefanko's finally stopped the rot, and in fact is probably closing in a little bit on Šmídl after that exchange at the start where Šmídl almost gained 2 seconds on Štefanko, but it seems like Martin's sorted himself out now and is kind of maintaining that gap that we've seen all season long, apart from the Paul Ricard circuit where Šmídl just drove away from everybody. But this is more likening to the Nürburgring when Štefanko and Šmídl were separated by about 1.5–2 seconds the entire race. Will we see that again? I don't know. I don't want to say that there's going to be too much overtaking for first and second after Šmídl getting in the lead, but if Štefanko can start to close in and get within that slipstream window that will be so powerful down that back straight, then hopefully we're going to see a fight for the lead once again. But right now Štefanko not in an ideal place, and he had first position with Šmídl down in third. It really was the sort of probably the thing he could dream of. I'm sure he couldn't really dream of Šmídl being any further down than third on the grid, but Honzík falling away, as you say, and I think that's more Štefanko getting used to the tyres and getting used to the pace of the track and the car, and is actually closing in slightly on Šmídl at the moment. And you can see the guys below as Blazek and Šlebek getting very close indeed and going to be side by side. I was too busy looking at the guys below to see these guys going side by side as the next right-hander, and that is going to be Dolezal?
Yeah.
Dolezal and Blazek? Yeah, sorry, Dolezal and Blazek, and that is very close indeed in the slipstream. Going to go down towards the hairpin. Going to go try and go round the outside is Blazek, but nothing doing just yet. But he will. Oh, that's almost stopped on the hairpin there. Did Dolezal. And, well, with Blazek using the slipstream here, surely he's going to get past into the last chicane. He's going to go defensive, but it's going to mean absolutely nothing with that closing speed, as we also have Šlebek and Sakura going very hammer and tong as well. And I think Blazek missing, not Blazek, sorry, Šlebek missing the chicane. I'm not sure if there's any penalties or anything that are handed out if you go straight on, but it doesn't seem that way because Štefanko carried on over that chicane, and although he did give the position to Šmídl, or at least lost the position to Šmídl. And here's a replay, Justin, of the BenQ car flying past into the last chicane. What's going to happen here?
Nice and late on the brakes. Wow, easy move actually for Blazek. Yeah, that was the move that put him up into 8th position ahead of Dolezal, and yeah, he made it look easy going into that final chicane. Unfortunately, though, it does look like we have already lost a car. Yep. So it looks like we are down to, yeah, we've lost Frabish already. So we're down to 9 cars, unfortunately. So when he came into the pits, I believe it was on lap 6 that we saw Frabish coming into the pits. It looks like that was unfortunately to retire. So possibly just something wrong with the car, or just something not going well for him. So that's good news for Blazek and Dolezal, though, as they will, of course, be able to grab some extra points as a result result of that. Martin Štefanko, meanwhile, has closed down that gap, at least visually to my eye. I'm trying not to use the timing exactly because I know it can fluctuate quite a bit, but my gosh, Matt, he looks very close to Michael Šmídl at the moment. Honzík, on the other hand, has really dropped off this pairing here, and I have to wonder if Štefanko knows. I mean, he was faster in qualifying, and, you know, that kind of knowledge can really play an important factor over the course of the race, because Štefanko knows he's quicker over the one-lap pace, but one-lap pace, excuse me. But of course, Šmídl is always a force to be reckoned with. He's always going to be quick in the race. He's always going to be quick on heavy fuel. He's always going to be extremely consistent as well. So certainly, Štefanko is not going to be able to rely on luck alone in order to get him into first position. And certainly he's not going to have the benefit of any sort of DRS. He does have Kurz, and he is going to get a mighty slipstream on the run down towards the final couple of corners here at the end of lap number 9. But Štefanko's going to have to do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, indeed. It seems like Šmídl is almost like a veteran of the Red Bull days. He always is straight up to speed and gets that gap, whereas Štefanko takes a few laps to get used to the heavy fuel and things like that, and the tyre temperatures, etc. But now, you know, once he's in the groove, he really does start to close in, especially at this round around Montreal. It's a second, so it really is wide open at the front at the moment, and we are coming up towards the first round of pit stops. These soft tyres should go between 10 and 15 laps, depending on the driver and how hard they push the tyres, and also the setup on the car. Šlebec and Sikora still cannot be sort of pulled apart, as these two pretty much staying together, and it's pretty much the nature of the track, really. If two cars are similar pace, the guy behind will pretty much catch up any mistakes that are potentially made over the course of the lap with the use of slipstream. So here we have Dolezal behind Blazek as well. So it's good to see there's battles all the way down the field at the moment for first place. Then we've got a battle for 4th, battle for 6th, and a battle for 8th as well. So we've got a bit of action on our hands, I'm sure. And it's nice to see these guys not crashing into each other as much as we've seen, especially in the first round at Imola, where there was quite a bit of a pile-up on that first lap. And we have Zubek here closing in on Polesny. I don't think he's going to be close enough into this last chicane, but possibly into turn 1 if he gets a good run out of this chicane. Let's have a look and see. Rides the curbs hard, doesn't get anywhere near the Wall of Champions, whereas Polesny got a little bit closer. And a 14.7 for Polesny, 14.6 last lap, and a 14.5 for Zubek. So Zubek well and truly closing in, not by much, but he can't close in much more unless he drives into his rear diffuser.
Yeah, there's not much more improvement to go. I imagine Zubek has, despite being a rookie, one of the rookies of this season, you have to imagine that Zubek's gotten maybe a little accustomed to being up on the podium, or at least battling with the top 3 and that sort of stuff. Maybe not the top 2, but for battling for a podium position. So I imagine he is a bit upset about being stuck behind Polesny right now. Meanwhile, Honzík is extending that gap. Honzík really the loneliest of the drivers out there at the moment, you have to say. Really not a lot going on for him. He's got a 3-second gap ahead and behind. So Honzík's in a pretty safe 3rd position. Polesny, though, almost definitely not safe in this 4th place position, as Zubek is just climbing all over the back of him here. He does seem visually closer on the rundown towards the final couple of corners here. Martin Štefanko pits from 2nd position at the end of lap number...
And Šmídl as well.
Yeah, oh, and Šmídl as well, yeah, good eye. And so both of the leaders into the pits. And again, Martin Štefanko just following, and Honzík as well into the pits. But yeah, Štefanko just following Šmídl and doing what he does. I would like to see some more variation from Štefanko as far as getting... Oh gosh, and this is getting very tasty at the pit exit, as actually Michael Šmídl has fed out directly behind the T-Mobile car, and he's gonna go. He's gonna dive nice and early for the inside line of that turn 3 chicane and move ahead.
Where's Štefanko?
Štefanko is...
He's down in 6th.
Yep, he is still ahead of Honzík. Honzík has dropped down to stone dead last with that pit stop, which shows just how close this field is. Štefanko, though, has come out behind that battle of Šlebec and Sikora, and that's what Šmídl fed out in the middle of. But he was able to, he only had to get around 1 car, and now Štefanko's got to get around 2.
Yeah, he had a poor pit stop, Štefanko. He was only a second behind Šmídl coming into the pits, and again he has a poor pit stop. And again, that's going to cost him potentially a chance at the race victory, as he's going to have to get past both Šlebek and Sikora. And this is the fight for the lead at the moment, as Polesny peels off into the pits, and Zubek will take the lead of this Grand Prix as he carries on his soft tyres. That's Sikora going in the pits as well. Šlebek carries on. So there's lots of action in the pit lane at the moment, but right now the rookie Zubek is leading the race only by about 3 seconds by the looks of things, but he's still going to be capturing this moment, as it's a very rare occasion to see anyone other than Šmídl or Štefanko leading a race. And this is Štefanko and Honzík. Not sure was this Honzík coming under pressure?
Honzík and Dolezal. Yeah.
Oh yes. Okay, so
just got by.
Okay, so that was Honzík over a second a lap slower, I think that said, than Štefanko ahead of him. So Honzík's had a poor outlap after his pit stop, and Dolezal is going to try and take advantage of Honzík's slow pace at the moment. And this is Štefanko behind Šlebek, and well, this is going to be painful for Štefanko unless Šlebek goes into the pits. Or no, Šlebek makes a mistake actually, and he's going to gift Štefanko that position. And now, well, he's over 3 seconds behind Šmídl, which is going to be a painful sight to see, as he knows how hard it is to gain a 10th, let alone 3 seconds on Šmídl, even over the course of a race, because we've seen them so closely matched over the course of this season, but Šmídl always seems to have the edge.
Yep, and Zubek does dive into the pits. I believe the last person to pit. Šlebek possibly, no, Šlebek as well needing to pit too. So, but yeah, Šmídl retakes the lead of the race, unsurprisingly there. Looks like Polesny now is going to make his stop. Zubek is going to come out. Has anyone opted for the super softs? No, everybody has gone for the soft compound tire. So it seems that at least in these early stages, it could be close between Polesny and Zubek here at the pit exit. Yes, it is very close. Zubek around the outside of turn 2. They're going to be side by side on the short run down towards turn number 3. Polesny with the inside line. Zubek's going to try and do it around the outside. That's not going to work for him. And Polesny holds on to that 6th place position as Zubek feeds out right alongside of him. But you can see Zubek already keen to try and get by if he possibly can. Štefanko already getting the hammer down. Again, he knows he's quicker over the 1-lap pace in comparison to Michael Šmídl, so hopefully that psychological advantage will come into play, at least for our sake, in the battle for the lead of this race, I would say, but also for Štefanko's sake as well, hoping that he can get back involved. Because, of course, Matt, it's not just... we hope that Štefanko will get involved in the battle for the lead, but we hope Štefanko can win some races. Otherwise, Šmídl's just going to walk away with the championship.
Yeah, 21 points already seems like an insurmountable amount of points between the two championship protagonists. And this is Zubek having a look at Polesny round the outside into the last chicane. That's never going to work, and potentially a little bit of a rookie error there. But he won't have a chance into turn 1 because he pretty much straight-lined the chicane, which I am assuming is against the rules. And here we are into turn 1. But yeah, back to the Štefanko-Šmídl. Yeah, Štefanko needs to stop this rot because, well, it's not really been a rot. It's just been a consistent thing where Šmídl's just won every race pretty much apart from one. So Štefanko has to hope for a really poor weekend for Šmídl, but I can't see a poor weekend being any lower than 3rd for Šmídl, really. Moving on for the rest of this season. So Štefanko needs to start winning races, and he needs to start getting that psychological advantage of being the hunter rather than the hunted, and that's Honzík and Šlebek going side by side, but Šlebek's yet to pit, I believe. So Honzík making that move stick after Šlebek making that little bit of a mistake, and we're now right on board again, or having a look at Zubek and Polesny into the hairpin with Dolezal just ahead as well, and you can see how much more pace Zubek can take through that hairpin, maybe running a little bit more downforce, as we now look again to Honzík into the last chicane, and a replay here of
Polesny.
What's he doing?
Yeah,
this is the replay. Yeah, this is the side-by-side action, and you can see Zubek gets a little bit better exit, but dives up the inside and makes sure he takes that inside line advantage that he had into turn 3. So good driving from Polesny to stay ahead of Zubek, although Zubek's pressure really isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, Zubek is all over the back of him, and now Polesny's got Dolezal up ahead as well, who's kind of slowing him down. By the way, I've really noticed that Polesny seems like he's focused more than anybody. I mean, sometimes it feels like he's nearly kissing the monitor in front of him. I mean, he's really, really focused on that screen, no doubt about it. I mean, all of these guys are focused, but trying to pick up a little bit of slipstream here. But yeah, it looks like Dolezal actually really just doesn't want to get involved. No blue flag situation, of course, Dolezal just a little bit out of position on account of not having stopped yet. But great to see that Dolezal is trying something different. Zubek now with a great run out of turn 9 on the run down towards the hairpin. A bit of wheel banging into the hairpin now. He tries to go around the outside, but it doesn't quite work for him. Polesny holds off Zubek once again here on lap 16, but here he comes with the slipstream again. Polesny defending the inside line into the final chicane. Let's see if he can brake late enough to go around the outside. Yes, he can. Goes very late on the brakes. Oh, a bit of contact, though, with the Wall of Champions. That's going to allow Polesny back through, and Zubek has it all to do again.
Lucky boy that the damage model isn't a little bit more harsh, because that would have been a left rear wheel pretty much hanging off his car, I think. So Zubek going in a little bit too hot into that last chicane, and the Wall of Champions was there to greet him. But fortunately for him, it doesn't seem like he's struggling too much at the moment. This is a replay of the battle into the hairpin. Zubek trying to go around the outside a bit, side pod to wheel banging there, and obviously he's now thinking, yeah, I'm going to get the slipstream, it's going to be fine. But yeah, just a little bit too hot, got a bit of oversteer, and there you go, into the wall. Fortunately for him, lives to tell the tale, and a nice little replay there. Oh,
great
gosh,
shot.
dearie me. That could have ended in tears, but fortunately for the rookie, he continues and will try and take that position, that 4th place at some point. Dolezal in the pits now, and he is going to come out stone dead last. And not a great weekend for Thomas Dolezal.
Yeah, he has stopped at the end of lap 17, though, for a set of softs. So I believe Dolezal is going to be the only driver on the grid that's one-stopping. So we could see that play a role later in the race. However, he does have a significant gap to Chlebik up ahead. Now, he is going to be faster at the moment compared to all the drivers, so he lost a significant amount of time by staying out until lap 17, unquestionably. That goes without saying. He lost lots of time, but he is going to start to claw back some of that time, as everybody else is on tires that are now a handful of laps old or so, and his are brand spanking new. Now, with that said, he's also not going to be able to push too hard because he needs to try and do 18 laps on this set of softs if he is indeed one-stopping. Now, he does have the option of going onto a set of the super softs at the end, but that's probably not optimal. But here we go, Blazek now for P6 on Jan Sikora. Can he go around the outside at the final chicane? No, didn't work out for him. He does straight line the chicane, but I assume that's okay as long as they're not gaining an advantage. And clearly he hasn't gained an advantage on Sikora there. He even, I think, lifted after cutting the chicane just to make sure he wasn't gaining an advantage into turn 1. So he will have to settle down and hold on to that 7th place position in the meantime. He's got a nice size gap to Chlebik behind in 8th position, but Zubek still behind Polesny and still struggling, and Polesny with a huge gap up ahead to Honzík. As I mentioned before, Honzík really seems to be the loneliest driver out there today. But here we go, Blazek on Sikora once again. Oh, almost lifting there, it feels like. It looked like he was going to try and go around the outside, but then kind of stopped in the middle of it through the highest speed chicane on the circuit, through turns 8 and 9 on the run down towards the hairpin. And Sikora is going to get defensive in that T-Mobile car, and it looks like Blazek is just practically pushing him through that hairpin. Down the long straight we go, tucked underneath into that slipstream of Jan Sikora is Michael Blazek. He's going to have to go around the outside once again. Let's see if he's got the speed, the straight line speed to pull ahead. Can he be late enough onto the brakes? They are going to be side by side, clunking over the curbs into a spin. And Jan Sikora is going to lose some time, but not nearly as much time as Michael Blazek. And in fact, he's going to lose a position to Chlebik too.
That was never going to work,
No.
but it was still good to see. And yeah, we're looking at Štefanko now, who's lost 7/10 to Šmídl on that last lap, so not sure where that time went, but Šmídl turning up the heat with a 1:12.9. But back to that instant with Sikora and Blazek. I mean, it really just needed a little bit more patience potentially from Blazek's point of view, because clearly he is the faster of the two. However, Sikora did hit that wall pretty hard, so I would imagine he has some kind of damage, and it'll be interesting to see how much time he loses to the guys behind, but I'm assuming with how hard he clattered that wall, he should have quite a bit of damage on that car. But P6, will he be able to hold on? I'm not so sure. 14 laps to go. And back to Dolezal's strategy. It's weird. You know, Canada and the pit lane here is probably one of the shortest on the calendar.
It is.
So for me personally, I don't think a one-stop will work too well, or it won't work in the sense of time.
And you cut some of the circuit.
Yeah.
You know, you missed the chicane and you missed turn 1.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not exactly a painful experience to go in the pits around here. So Dolezal, I think, will probably lose more time jumping off the cliff twice, in the sense of at the end of his first stint and the end of the race as well. So Dolezal won't be able to push, even though he'll be in maybe 6th or 7th. He'll be coming under some severe amounts of pressure from the guys behind. But it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. It's nice to see a different strategy on the table, but everyone else pretty much going line astern with their strategies, especially Šmídl and Štefanko. And again, you mentioned Štefanko coming in the pits at the same time as Šmídl, and it really is painful to see. And when I go to the Czech Republic, I will be speaking to Štefanko going, do something different, please, especially if you're behind Šmídl. Because if you guys didn't know, I'm going to be visiting these guys for their next round at Silverstone. So be commentating on my home track, which I know all too well. So I cannot wait for that, and to meet the drivers, have a look at how this Virtual GP Thrustmaster Series works. And you know, it's great to see esports and motorsport esports especially on the rise in this community. McLaren also, you know, mentioning and their new competition as well
with Logitech.
So it's all happening. Yeah, it's all happening with Logitech as well, as you say. So it's all happening in the motorsport scene, and hopefully this is the start of something pretty special.
Yep. And I hope you're right about that one, and I am really looking forward to that live commentary without question. I'm gonna have a good time.
I won't have you alongside me though.
Yeah, so. But it's Silverstone, so you know, if there's one track out there that you don't need a co-commentator, Silverstone's probably the one to pick. You will be.
I have enough stories to talk about Silverstone.
In fact, I think you were just down there for WEC not that long ago, and also driving.
I was there a couple of days ago.
Driving an F1 car as well. Yeah. So that should be fun. So
don't burn too many of my stories.
Turning our attention though back towards the race, Zubek still stuck behind Polesny. It's been 23 laps of Zubek being stuck behind Polesny. I have to say, in the early stages of this race, I was really hoping that Zubek was going to maybe find a way around Polesny and start harassing Honzík, because Honzík really has been in a class of his own, in so much as he's not as fast as Šmídl and Štefanko, but quite a bit faster than the rest of the field, it would seem. And I have to think that Zubek is potentially the only driver that could actually catch up to Honzík and give him a hard time. But Polesny is driving fantastically. You can't slight him at all for the performance that he's putting in to keep Zubek behind. We know he's an intense competitor. It does look like Blazek now into the pits is going to be the first person to make a second stop. And that actually could get him lapped potentially, as Šmídl coming around that hairpin and down towards the pit lane entrance right now. Turning the focus back towards Zubek, who is again trying to find a way around Polesny. And this is one of the closest battles. It looks like Šmídl now into the pits as well. Yes, there he is into the pits.
And Štefanko as well. Oh, for God's sake.
Yep, and Štefanko follows him right on in. And Honzík as well follows him in. So Šmídl, Štefanko, and Honzík all pitting on the same laps.
Honzík just went past his pit box. He had to reverse.
Yep. That's something that you see, that we've seen in this series and in other series as well. So Honzík missing out on probably a few tenths of a second at the very least. Polesny's in the pits as well, so that's good for him, though. He could potentially do something against Zubek here, as Zubek now continues on. So, although really Zubek should have been the one pitting on this lap and Polesny on the next lap if he wanted to try and get some sort of undercut, but Zubek was visually faster, at least in my mind. So if he gets the hammer down now and has an incredible in-lap, he could potentially jump him still, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But Blazek was the first of the cars to come into the pits for those new tires. It has dropped him down to last position, but he's far less than a pit stop behind Jan Sikora, and I think a little bit less than a pit stop behind Dolezal even, so I think he's going to feed out ahead of the one stopping Dolezal potentially, but Zubek is the one that we really want to watch as we see him fighting that steering wheel at the exit of the hairpin on the run down towards the pit lane entrance. You have to imagine that he's going to be coming into the pits on this lap here, in order to protect, or in order to try and jump as much as he can to jump Polesny for that 4th place position if he can. And indeed, he does dive into the pits. This has got to be an important stop for Zubek. He's going to have to hit his marks, make sure he does everything exactly right. I don't know how much pit lane practice these guys do, but this is an important moment for him. Polesny, I don't know if he got any traffic. Did Polesny behind Chlebek potentially? I'm not sure. He is ahead now, but I don't know how long he was ahead for. So let's see. Where is Zubek coming out? No, Polesny, I think he's done it. I think he's just about done it. Polesny's on the inside, Zubek's on the outside. No, Zubek's done it. He jumps up into 4th position. Yeah, I love Zubek doing the fist pump. Polesny is so upset, fighting that steering wheel through the chicane, and Polesny has got to be so upset about that.
Oh, dearie me, he's very upset as he almost loses the car into the back of Zubek there. Oh my days. I think Polesny wanting to make something happen pretty much braked a little bit too late there. I was about to say he has an opportunity to get that position back if he stays with Zubek, but he's already made a mistake on this lap, and Chlebek in 6th position is potentially going to get involved in this battle as well. But Zubek locking up a little bit into that hairpin, but I don't think Polesny or Chlebek are going to be close enough to their rivals ahead to make anything happen, and I can only imagine Zubek will start to pull away from Polesny if Zubek can make sure he keeps his emotions intact and doesn't start fist pumping all the time. But good to see that kind of emotion, and you can see the amount of concentration, especially on Zubek's part. His eyes are practically falling out of his head, so it's good to see how much. Well, to be fair, I'm exactly the same if I'm ever racing in something competitive, so I can't blame these guys. Whereas Honzík seems to be the only one that seems like he's on a Sunday drive.
Yep.
Like he just sits there and he just looks like he's in it.
I see him looking at other people's screens too. I haven't seen that with the other drivers, but Honzík, every once in a while you catch him peeking over at someone else's screen.
Probably just to see, I don't know what kind of information they have on their screens, but maybe trying to get some inside information, doing a Vettel and just poking around their car, just having a little look around to see what they're doing. But right now Šmídl is probably the only one anyone wants to look at the screen of, because he's doing a 12.5 on that last lap and is steaming away from Štefanko, who seems to have potentially made some sort of mistake. And maybe this is where we're going to see it. There you go. And they don't call me the guru for nothing. No, they don't call me the guru at all, but I mean it's something that I've seen obviously, and Štefanko made that little mistake, and that's pretty much game, set and match, I think, for the fight for the lead, unfortunately for everyone watching. But it's not the end of Polesny having a go on Zubek. It's now the roles have been reversed, and all of a sudden Polesny's quicker than Zubek. Chlebek falling away, unfortunately for him, but Zubek and Polesny battle has been rejoined. We would have expected Zubek to pull away, but no, Justin.
No, he has not pulled away, and he's doing a fantastic job, but not quite a good enough job.
Wide.
Yep, that is very deep into turn 6, which is going to put Polesny all over the back of him. Pretty decently long run on the run down towards turn 8 and 9 here. Zubek defends the inside line, unsurprisingly, through the chicane. That's really the line that you want. And Zubek does hold on to that 4th place position, only barely, though. That mistake nearly cost him that 4th place position. Excuse me, and I'm sure he would have been really upset about that, but he's doing the bare minimum to stay ahead in 4th position, so he's hanging on to that. Polesny just about in the background. Chlebek's still not that far behind either. Dolazel's still holding on to that 7th place position. Our little one-stopper still holding strong in 7th position with a decent-sized gap ahead up to Sakura, but a big-sized gap to Chlebek up ahead. And Matt, I gotta ask for the Sortina Driver of the Day competition. You know, for in my mind, it's really down to either Zubek or Šmídl, but that's a tough call.
It is a very difficult one, and the Driver of the Day, you can vote on the website, and there's a competition as well for luxury Swiss watches, thanks to Sortina. It's also on the website, and currently Mavic and McLaren Honda are leading with 62 points in that competition, and Milan 22 is third with 52 points. So get involved with that. As for my Driver of the Day currently, I think it has to go to Šmídl. There hasn't really been any other standout performances really from anyone else. Šmídl, again, you know, we can't just ignore him, unfortunately, even though he is leading the race and he's not really doing much in terms of entertainment value. But at the same time, he's dropping a 12.0 on that last lap, which is 0.6 faster than Štefanko. And, you know, he's a class of the field, and he really is storming towards this championship, and Štefanko really just can't do anything about it, unfortunately for him. But then again, Štefanko is still a class of the field compared to everyone else, so the gaps in the skill at the moment are perhaps a little bit wider than I would like as a viewer, but that's something that, you know, just happens in these kind of series. I'm used to people being really, really good and dominating series that I've raced in previously. So, but now back on board with Polesny, still within touching distance of Zubek, but Zubek looking slightly more comfortable at the moment.
Yeah, he's extended that gap a little bit, so it looks like maybe he's focused. Martin Štefanko, speaking of entertainment value, has been kind enough to at least provide a few mistakes for us to spot. Michael Šmídl, not so much, as you mentioned, been pretty much faultless as he makes his way through the final chicane for the 29th time in this 35-lap race around the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. He starts lap number 30 now, 6 laps remaining for the Big Shock driver. And you have to say he is looking pretty confident. I imagine his face in that picture is pretty similar to what his face looks like right now. Polesny, on the other hand, probably can't say the same about him. I doubt he is smiling that much. He was really enjoying being in that 4th place position, I have to imagine. Again, though, I have to go back to Honzík just quickly, just because he is driving very well. He's quite a ways ahead of Zubek, Polesny, and Šlebek, and the rest of the sort of midfield guys, but so you have to say it's been a bit of a step up for Honzík. This is maybe more the sort of performance that we've been expecting from Honzík over the course of the season, although, as we've mentioned in previous races, boy, it would be super if Honzík could get involved with Štefanko and Šmídl. That would be truly fantastic. But in the meantime, we do have this fantastic battle between Polesny and Zubek. But this battle kind of reminiscent of the stuff that we've seen between Šmídl and Štefanko. You know, it's a battle of gaps, Matt. You know, it's not we're not seeing the side-by-side action that maybe we would like to see, but still very much on the edge of our seats as we wait and see what happens between Zubek and Polesny. Michael Blazek, again, who had that incident on lap 1, got spun down to the back of the field. It looks like his race hasn't been going very well. But again, this is his first race back after missing 2 races because of that automotive accident in real life, we should mention. So he's a trooper for even making it back here. We don't know how significant or serious that accident was, but we are, of course, very glad to see him back in that lovely purple BenQ car, and glad that he's joining us, and glad that he's not far off the pace. He's only a few seconds off of Jan Sikora in the T-Mobile car. Thomas Dolezal as well. He is making this one-stop work. It's going fairly well for him. I mean, he's got less than a handful of laps to go as he starts lap number 31 now. So actually, he does have a handful of laps to go. And he is still maintaining about a 6-second, 5-second gap over Jan Sikora, so it looks like he should be safe in that 7th place position, unless he's losing more than a second per lap. And I guess that really it depends on how much he's been pushing those soft compound tires. A bit disappointing that we didn't see the super softs utilized at all for this race. I have to say I'm a bit disappointed in that, particularly, Matt, because it's a 2-stop now. You know, with the mediums going away, that means the super softs and softs are our only options, but now that they've removed the hardest compound tire, everybody's just using the next hardest compound tire.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case. Hold on a second, Polesny in the slipstream, going to try and get past Zubek into the last chicane. That's going to be very close. Fortunately, those two both come through the chicane with no kind of war wounds, and we carry on this battle. But Polesny really starting to turn the heat up. He did a 12.7 that lap before this one, and that's almost on the level of Michael Šmídl kind of pace. And Polesny really just desperate to get through on Zubek. Zubek looking a lot calmer than Polesny right now on the wheel especially, but oh dearie me, Polesny pushing that to the absolute limit, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. Zubek a little bit of a lock-up as well into that left-hander. It's not going to help his tyre wear. Speaking of tyre wear, Dolezal, as you say, in 7th place. He's just about maintaining the gap, I think, to Sikora and Blazek behind, and it is unfortunate to not see the super softs, but as they only last 5 to 7 laps, there's not really much point in going on them unless you're going to do a very alternate strategy, which in the end is probably going to lose you time if everybody is using the softs. There's clearly something working for that. But we might see Blazek come in on lap 30, or at the end of this lap, potentially, to come on the super soft, because he hasn't really got anything to gain apart from potentially a fastest lap. But good luck taking that away from Michael Šmídl, that's all I'll say. As Polesny again behind Zubek, not getting as close this time. as they start, or about to start, lap 33 for them. And, well, it's close, but who's your money on, Justin?
I think Zubek's got this. I mean, he was the one that managed to actually make an overtake, and as we've seen, it's not easy to overtake here. There are overtaking opportunities, but I mean, you've got to have the car, you've got to have the talent, you've got to have just everything. You got to have the tires for it. I mean, it has to be a combination of things. You can't just breeze by with DRS like you can in F1. So he's got to have his wits about him. He needs to do everything pretty much perfectly if he wants to try and get by Zubek, or he needs to hope for a mistake. And so far, we've only seen the one mistake from Zubek, and even after that mistake, Zubek still held on to that 4th place position. Polesny's very close coming out of that hairpin.
Yeah, I'm going to put my money on Polesny.
But he was last lap too. Zubek's going to defend the inside line, same as he did before. He's going to deploy all of his curves, I assume, same as he did before. And in fact, Polesny's not even going to be alongside into the final chicane now as we start the penultimate lap of this race. These guys starting lap number 34 as they cross the line now. And again, Polesny's very close, but he's not going to be nearly close enough to pull alongside. So I think Zubek's got this one in the bag. He definitely seems very calm visually, looking at him on the webcam and everything like that. Zubek seems to have everything under control, but 2 more laps here of racing, Matt, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, we're going to see something interesting as long as Polesny stays within touching distance of Zubek. It'd be nice to see a last lap dive that doesn't end in tears. That would be good, but we'll see if that happens. Out front, Šmídl has started his penultimate lap and is cruising, as he has done for every single race this season, apart from at the Nürburgring. And here he is, last lap 12.4. What's this lap? 12.8. So he's just chilling now. 12.8. Oh no, what a terrible lap time.
Yep.
So Šmídl, you know, doesn't really have to push at all, but still in the 112s. I'm sure a lot of these guys would love to get in the 112s by even pushing their absolute hardest, as he has now begun his last lap. And we now have Polesny not going to be close enough this time again, I don't think. Although he is closing, he's not going to close enough into this last chicane. He's going to have to hope for some kind of mistake from Zubek, and I guarantee... Oh, dearie me. Oh, my giddy aunt, that was close. Polesny, I was about to say, got a really good run compared to Zubek, but then almost lost the car into the wall of champions. And we're going to see some kind of last-ditch attempt here, I think, from Polesny on Zubek. They take 2 very different lines into turn 2, it has to be said. And here we go, Michael Šmídl. Unfortunately, not as much excitement for him. And he must just really enjoy these Sunday drives.
He can see Blazek, though. He can see another car for the first time in a while.
So that's nice of him to see someone, but he's not going to overtake him as he now weaves down the straight. And is going to celebrate another victory in this Thrustmaster Virtual GP 2017 Championship. And it's been an easy one for him. He hasn't really had to do much apart from those couple of overtakes, and he fist pumps once again over the line and takes victory. Martin Štefanko comes home in a very lonely second, and here we go. This is the fight we were looking for. Oh no! Collision between Polesny and Zubek. And Polesny's going to wait, and he's going to have to wait a long time as well. Fortunately for either of those, there is no one to take either of those positions away. And Polesny, unfortunately, just a little bit too eager on the accelerator. Like, if he had not hit him, I reckon he would have had him into that last chicane, because he was so close. And, well, it will be something that we'll have to think about, because we're never going to see whether or not that actually happens. Sikora and Dolezal, the final lap, and unfortunately for Dolezal, I think he might well lose the position. We've now changed to everyone celebrating, and up the inside, Dolezal loses the position to Sikora on the final lap. That's going to hurt after crawling around on those tyres. Sikora comes home in 7th, Dolezal in 8th, and Blazek, unfortunate return for him after a couple of races out, but it will still be some points for him in 9th position, and he comes crawling over the line.
Yep, after Frabish's DNF, Blazek is the effective last place person, but as you mentioned, Matty, I mean, he's been away for a couple of races. He may still be sore from that accident, so you can see the guys just all having a good time with each other. I think I saw Honzík waving to Šmídl as he pulled alongside him.
The first time Šmídl's off the track. Never seen. So there we have it, the race results. Michael Šmídl taking the fastest lap as well with that stunning 1:12.0, 6.4 seconds ahead of his nearest rival both today and also in the championship, Martin Štefanko. Honzík in third, Zubek comes home in fourth ahead of Polesny after that very intense battle. Schlebek in sixth, Sakura seventh, Dolezal eighth, Blazek ninth and Frabish the only DNF this afternoon. And then we're going to have a look at the championship as well, and the gap has been extended to 29 points, and it was over a race victory now, so even if Šmídl decides to bin it in the wall, he will still be leading the championship after round number 6. So what's going to happen? There's a little bit of a battle between 4th and 5th there, and there we have it, Justin, the podium where they just stand on tyres. That's a good makeshift podium there. But
I like that.
Šmídl once again, great stuff. I'm Matthew Gallagher, Justin Sutton alongside me, and we'll see you for round number 6. Goodbye.